You know what I'm saying? How's everything been with you?
Man, watching this show play out.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, this show is definitely playing out. Did you get a chance to see Kendrick Lamar's performance last night?
Oh yes, I did. You see
Yeah,
how they had all of those different sets up there together in unity. Remember, I told you that was gonna
yep.
happen.
I thought about you. That's why I brought it up. That's why I said, damn, Ryan was talking about this shit. He was like, oh man. So
That's
tell me
the,
about that. Tell me
this
about that.
look. This the 9/11 of the show right here. This to bring them down, bring them towers down. I'm
Woo.
tower number 7. So look,
Yeah.
in the West Coast, they follow the oral tradition hard.
Uh-huh.
So the OGs gotta okay certain moves before the YGs move.
Right.
So we've been talking to OGs. Um, we've been using different OGs from the block that know what's going on to go talk to the other OGs and tell them how the enemy tricked us, turned us against each other, sicked us on each other like ravenous pit bulls. And we've been fighting each other, believing what the enemy misled us into doing. And it's been a shock to the conscience of a lot of the young brothers that have been putting in work.
Mm.
So when they start realizing how the trick was ran on us, the kind game, to turn us against each other, they didn't want no more parts of killing us because we need each other to fight them off.
Right.
See, so now the OGs and the YGs out west, they saying it's on, it's ready, we ready. And if you don't know how the West Coast ride, don't go out there and F around and find out. They not playing. They dead serious. Do not finna come with the, like, we caught them in the Rodney King riots, police dressing up like gangbangers to start the wars back up, to keep us fighting each other. We caught them. It is not a secret, right? So now we able to produce enough evidence to walk the youngsters through what's been going on to turn us against each other, and they not buying it. They cut from a different cloth for a reason.
Right. Oh yeah.
So now Kendrick brought it to the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
They can't come out in the unity, the show of unity, and turn the unity key into all tribes understand the nature of the return and the restoration of the clans across the land. When the West Coast came out with that show of unity, that was a message to the Midwest and to the East and the Southeast and to the South. Y'all ready? We ready. If you go back and listen to what Kendrick said, he said, we unified now, we ready.
Oh yeah.
What they ready for?
That was a beautiful thing to see right there, Ryan.
That was a monumental milestone for us as a unified front against the colonizers.
Yeah. And it's funny, the person he's battling against,
so even if Drake just being the fall guy, he playing the part in order for us to pay attention to the stellar alignment so we could see what spirit is moving humans to do on Earth.
Indeed.
You know, so somebody had to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
So Drake took on the bad guy.
He took on that role.
Well, because Kendrick had to be the good guy. He had to be the one, the knight in shining armor that comes through and slays the dragon for the princess. Who's the princess?
Just about to ask that. Who's the princess?
He said, we ain't been right since who died?
Who he said?
He said Nipsey and he said Kobe.
Right.
All right. And the princess is Laura London. Because Laura London was the one who was riding a white horse in the photographs with Nipsey. So in order for Nipsey legacy to be solidified, one of his brethren had to stand up in order to solidify the legacy by confirmation. They reenacting an ancient story called it's called the Holy Drama. It's the story of the prince rising to power in the Osirian resurrection. Right. So when you see it play out in one genre, it's playing out somewhere else too. It's playing out in the political arena with different characters using the different format, but it's the same story being told. They finally starting to leak the fact that this Joe Biden stuff is deep fake on the mainstream news. And we've been talking about it, what, 3 years on your show?
Yeah, no, definitely about 3.
So now they just not starting to leak it out. What make them start leaking it now? At the same time, they showing this LA unity.
Right.
In the mainstream media, this is they setting the stage for the grand finale. Bring down the towers. You know the CIA code name for the Twin Towers was called the Gemini Project.
No, damn, bro, you going in there.
Look, it's called the Gemini Project. It was set for September 11th, but it's really 7/11 because Sep means 7. Right? So we got the unknown tower is tower number 7. That didn't get hit by a plane, but it still fell. Right? So in the midst of what looked like 2 towers falling, you seeing 2 towers rising. So you're looking at a political move and a entertainment move that's parallel in the movements of the tribes. Following the what they call the Gemini Code. I think it was a movie called The Gemini Man.
It was, yeah.
And it was some futuristic shit, right? It was something about some futuristic stuff. We in the future now from where we was when we was babies. We've arrived in the future of the child that was born when we was babies. We adults now. We didn't arrive in the future as babies, though. We rose into the future as adults. We got here. The future is when the new age begins. It's on the flip side of the Maherta, but who's going to see the Maherta when it's coming, and who going to sound the alarm and let the people know? Because that's between 2 pillars. Right? So it opens up a gateway to the center of the universe for Prime Creator to send source codes in to be filtered through the women using the Schumann resonance and the solar flares. And the answers coming in the UV in order to adjust the genetics of the child, because the prayers of the women is answered through the womb. Right? So when the child becomes next generation, these babies born now, they're going to be on a whole nother level from the babies who was born as we grew up. Right? Because they got a different function. We're going into a golden age, but we first have to get the warriors to still keep the warrior mentality, but be willing to work the farm. You know how to defend the farm so that when one of our farms is in danger, all of the farmers can mount up now. Because we are farmers.
Right.
And you know what a male farmer called, right?
What?
A husband. So all these women looking for a husband, but they making business deals that don't got nothing to do with finding a husband or a mate. It got everything to do with merging 2 corporations together so you can be unified and exploited together. Let's go into this exploitation together so they can exploit us twice as hard for twice as long. You know, a license is a permission to do something that's illegal. Think about that for a minute. You need a marriage license to get married. Who is illegal to get married? When was it ever illegal for somebody to get married? So you need a license to get married, or it's not recognized. The tribes don't need license, though. We get married by culture, right? My mama might take this chick's mama 15 blankets to represent 15 blankets of protection to turn something around off the Union. It's political, it's spiritual. It don't got nothing to do with the government though. But it got everything to do with the people. So when they looking for a husband, they really looking for a farmer. That's why they kicked us all off our farms with sharecropping agreements. To make the men unfit to be a husband because they don't know how to do nothing. But one of them boys on them country boys on the farm know how to do everything on the farm. You know, they can butcher the cattle, plant the crops, harvest the crops, repair the house, build a new barn. They know how to do it all. But a city slick only know what the people at the job taught him how to do at work. Even if he went to school and got a degree.
Yeah. Damn, Rob, what you smoking today, man? You just went in for 15 minutes nonstop, man. What? That must be some good shit today, man.
Hey, look, you know me. I stay ready. I don't got to get ready. It was just outformation time for the information that was being relayed.
Yeah.
The question that you asked brought all that to the surface.
Speaking of farming and crops, and you know, there's specific times that you got to do certain things when it comes to farming. We're talking about the cosmos. We're talking about a new age that's coming along. Rod, should we be using new clocks? Do you think eventually we're gonna have to implement new clocks as we enter this new golden age, Rod?
To control the way time is told is to control the way people experience time. So it will be up to the collective if they think that we need a new system of understanding time. And if the collective feel like the old structure of time is contradictory or counterproductive, then the scientist is going to come up with some miraculous discovery that alters the perception of time. We didn't know this mathematical formula, but once we solved it, this happened with the time continuum. A new discovery, because the collective will demand it. But if it's found that it's nothing wrong with the time continuum, but the management of time within the continuum, that requires the individual to learn how to be a better manager of his own time. Right? Then it wouldn't require us to change the clock. We might change calendars. More than likely, we would change calendars. Because when a new power or a new when a new government is established, they have to change the lines of demarcation, the names of what we call metropolises, what they call them capital cities, but they metropolises. All of the metropolises have to be renamed by the people of the land. They can either go back to an ancient name or come up with an entirely new name altogether. We already started doing it by nicknaming our city.
What you mean?
They don't call Chicago, they call it Chirac.
Right, okay.
Right? They don't call Brooklyn, they call it the Boogie Down.
No, that's the Bronx. Boogie Down, that's the Bronx.
Oh yeah, the Bronx, my bad. I get them mixed up sometimes because I ain't from New York.
Yeah.
But you close enough to know how to make the correction.
Yeah.
We do this tribally. The tribe from the area becomes dissatisfied with the definition that the city is living up to its name. So in order to change how the city is defined, the tribe start calling the city by a different name. That's just the nature of the culture. Right? Like we don't just call Michigan, we call it the murder meeting. Right? All of these is the tribes being dissatisfied with the current conditions, telling the hierarchy and the chiefdom, fix this problem right here. So then we had to figure out, okay, well, who is right now controlling the state of Michigan under the name Michigan? We got to go find out who they is, and they gonna either explain to us who named it Michigan and why is it still got that name and why we not following none of the tribal names for the land,
Right.
right? And then when they don't have a sufficient answer, then the chiefs pull rank and, well, we ain't gonna call it that no more,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was done by territory, but now because we was colonized all the way from Canada to the bottom of South America and the islands, even the South Pacific, talking about the Hawaiian Islands, the Samoan Tonga, all of those islands, the colonizers didn't stop nowhere. So now everything had to be reclassified according to the wishes of the people that's from the area.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to continue to surrender their sovereignty and allow other people to control their destiny, then the closest nearing people who wants to control their destiny will gladly take on the responsibilities to and get rid of the colonizer.
Mm-hmm.
So that way that a tribe that don't want to take his tribal spot, you got a tribe that'll absorb them to make sure that they be able to live according to the tribal traditions of the great law.
Mm-hmm. Russ, speaking of the law, down here in this realm on this planet, in order to maintain order, we have something called arrest. You arrest somebody when they break the law because you're supposed to be trying to maintain order. Um, Speaking of the cosmos, and we're analyzing this as above, so below, is there such thing as cosmic arrest? If there's entities out there in the cosmos, is that an aspect that they experience cosmically like we experience on this realm?
You don't have to arrest nobody when you get out of the 3D.
Mm-hmm.
When the energy goes rogue in the 3D and the vessel that's carrying the rogue energy is informed of it, he's just going to go to the people that can help him correct the negative energy. But
Mm-hmm.
some of them so far gone that the energy had to be totally disrupted at source.
Oh,
When you
okay.
have to disrupt it at source, they call that splitting the soul because that soul would never reconstitute with that psychology ever again.
Yeah.
It's like it'll start over from scratch
Right.
as a new soul,
Right.
a blank slate.
Mm. Now, in terms of entities that may be what we call negative or um, low vibrational, what's the highest dimension they could go? Because I hear people talking about there's 11 dimensions. I hear different numbers for how many dimensions there are, but is there a certain like maybe they hang on the third, the fourth, or whatever? What's the highest dimension a low vibrational entity can go?
Well, they coming from the mirror lower realms, but
Mm-hmm.
they can only ascend to about the realm of thought. That's fourth dimension mind matrix.
Fourth, okay,
When
okay.
you get to fifth dimension spirit matrix, they if they ascend to that point, their whole constitution will rearrange and they will no longer be low vibrational beings.
Mm.
So that's what you call a great awakening,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the higher level being can go to the lower levels and maintain his constitution to a depth that's deeper
Mm-hmm.
in lower vibration, then a low vibration being can ascend to heights beyond the fifth dimensional spirit realm,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the which is actually soul matrix, where your essence is incorporated into your or paired with your mentality in order to have a higher consciousness in the physical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many dimensions are there, Rod?
Um, Dimensions are infinite,
Okay.
but from the three-dimensional matrix, the resonance can only go to the 19th dimension. Then it'll turn into something else and start over from there, similar to going back to the three dimensions starting over, but it being so high up,
Mm-hmm.
this the closest we can do to explain it is to try to explain going from 19 back to third, start all over to ascend again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And In the lodges, it's called plumbing the depths to ascend to the heights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't hit rock bottom, you can't ascend to the stars.
Right. Right.
Right. So a characteristic of somebody that you always know if they into masonry is when their life is no longer in their control, they just let it all go. Just let it fall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they pick themselves up from their own ashes and take the lessons they learned to build a better life.
When you study the information in the lodges and you see what's online, do you think everything that the secret societies had access to is online right now? Or do you think that there's mad shit that the Knights Templar, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians have that still ain't hit the internet yet?
Well, they call secret societies, but the more accurate term would be a society with secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like your local church, and the preachers are sleeping with all the sisters in the congregation. Everybody know it, but ain't nobody saying that. That's called an open secret.
Right, right, right.
Now everybody know he's sleeping with the choir director. He's sleeping with the lady that take up the collection. He's sleeping with the lady that's running the usher board. Everybody in the church know it, but it won't nobody say nothing about it. It's an open secret. It's the same with those secret societies. Some of the stuff that they be doing, we know they doing it but won't nobody speak on it. And everybody is complicit in holding the secret. And that's how they make us all be co-conspirators in their dirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've heard you and Billy Carson talk about the Anunnaki and us living to be them messing with our DNA and I guess putting a limit on how long we could live at this time, putting a cap on the I forgot exactly how he says it.
They cut back the telomeres on the
Right.
on
Tell
the
him, yeah.
chromosomes.
In in ancient times, I've heard about people living hundreds, thousands. What do you think is like? What was the longest you think we was living in antiquity? Like, was it beings that live hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands? Like,
We eternal beings. The
and what?
physical body is all it is an animated meat suit. It's just like a suit you go get from Brooks Brothers.
Mhm.
The only difference is your mama had to knit it in her womb in order to sew your essence into it for you to be able to use it, or it won't fit you. It'll come out defective. They call it a birth defect.
Mhm.
If she make a mistake in the weaving in the womb, we have birth defects. And sometimes you got birth defects because the people that's coming in is so powerful, she don't know how to weave the suit correctly.
Mhm.
So to keep the power from causing too much disruption in the reality around, she give it a broken vessel because they just want to experience this 3D stuff, the pain and the they just want to be here to revel in the energy, but they come in that broken vessel because if they come in whole like us, they might come in too powerful for all of the systems that make the system work. And I'm
Right.
not talking about government systems. I'm talking about the systems of creation,
Mhm.
the balancing of the energies in the families of the humans.
Uh-huh. You just said we're eternal beings, and when you look at a lot of the movies, Rod, the beings that never die, they be miserable. They hate that shit. It's misery to live forever. They wish they could die. Some of the movies, I think I was watching True Blood. They was trying to do shit just to die. So it's like, is that like almost like a curse to be an eternal being? Because that shit is that
Listen,
like pure
listen.
boredom or something? You know what I mean?
That's an eternal being that's used in 3D reality, but it's not an eternal being living in the eternal realm.
Mm,
In the eternal realm, you don't got no emotions. You don't feel no pain.
mhm,
You need a physical body because the emotions is the spirit's navigation system for the 3D body,
Mm-hmm.
right? The pain response is that's your warning system that something is wrong with the vessel that you navigate. You don't have pain and suffering in the spirit realm because it's part of the wiring of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they keep playing these cycles, these games and cycles. Because what do you do for eternity? Would you, okay, now you done cut the grass, you done washed all the dishes,
Mm-hmm.
you done cleaned up all the kids' rooms clean, you sent them off to school, the bathroom clean, laundry done, and now you sitting there twiddling your thumbs for the rest of eternity because you done did everything before 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do for eternity?
Mm-hmm.
You create alternative forms of experience. In order for eternity to have meaning, you have to create something called finite. If you have infinite, the infinite being can only understand infinity by the observation of the finite being.
Mm-hmm.
The being that dies, he don't know that he's just leaving the physical body while he dying. But once he gone, he like, ain't that a bitch? That was a hell of a game. I need to go play that again.
Mm-hmm.
Let me jump back down here in a different meat suit. Let me see if I can find one of my cousins or nieces that want to be my mother this time.
Mm-hmm.
So we come back into the physical form, and Earth has been one of the most, the university Earth, because the experience teaches you in the end, your spiritual enlightenment comes when you find infinite balance, right? That means you got rid of all forms of entropy. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you conquered chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you a star, you don't have to worry about going supernova.
Right. 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 Wow.
So that's what we is. The consciousness of the human, that's our spirit form, is the same power as the neutron star. The mitochondria is the power source. It's the step down capacitor to allow it to be able to seep into the physical without spontaneous combustion.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody turned the mitochondria up too high and the vessel haven't developed where it can facilitate the rapid transfer of spirit to physical energy, it's going to spontaneously combust, and you'll have a bunch of scientists talking about, why did that happen?
Mm. Mm. Got you. Got you. Wow. So let me ask you this, Rod. So if infinite intelligence is using finite beings to understand itself, what we do with the finite, what the finite beings do, since we have this forgetfulness, we pray to what we call God for answers. Now, if we pray to what we call God for answers, Rod, does God pray to us for questions to understand who it is? Like, is it like a reverse thing? God needs questions and we need answers. So God is praying us for questions and we praying to God for answers. Is it something like that?
God don't ask questions because God don't need answers. That's
God don't
part
know
of your
though,
that's
right?
part of your physical reality. Q&A is part of being in the 3D realm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you born, but you don't come with a manual. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, you do. It's called your book of life, but you don't remember how to read it because it's written in the elements around you.
Mm-hmm.
Your interpretation of the reality is how you read your book of life. The better you know yourself, the better you read your book of life. That's
Mm-hmm.
your operational manual.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be self-aware. The sooner you self-aware, the more you can do to read your book of life and perform your functions better.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3D realm, we are holding everything from a 3D perspective in our mental states.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying, how do God look at this situation? If I'm God, how would I see this? And it starts taking some of the suffering away because it starts to become humorous. And then you start to realize, I just cracked a joke on myself. I pulled a prank. a long drawn out prank on myself. Did nobody do it but me because I'm the only person that know me that well.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else don't know me good enough to know that I'm gonna look here and this is what I'm gonna be looking for when I look here. I'm the only one know me that good, so I must have hid it here so I can find it later.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then this is how you picking out your sentences and your word selection that writes your book of life.
Mm-hmm.
You had to know yourself enough to know that you left yourself clues.
Right.
You left yourself clues into the exhuming of the self. Now, all you trying to remember is how to find the clues.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost track of that because they took them all into the secret society, the sciences of how to read the clues at birth.
Right.
They don't tell us about naming ceremonies and asking the baby their name over and over every day until they tell you where you can hear a clear and coherent name.
So we're not
It
supposed
normally take 9 months and the baby will say a name. That's their name.
Okay. Okay.
But normally, that's an old tribal tradition. The old ladies sit around talking about, don't you mark that child, right? Don't talk bad about people because while you pregnant, because you're going to mark the child to come out with that negative trait, right? But if you can mark your child with positive traits the same way, right? So the elder women in our community, they've been talking about it in our face the whole time, but we didn't know what they was talking about. They was giving us clues because one day we gonna get it all. We gonna have a big old bag of puzzle pieces, and then we gonna say, "Well, let me put this puzzle together and see what it look like."
Right.
And that's when the humor of the universe hit you right in your solar plexus, and all your pain and suffering was a harsh practical joke that you played on yourself because you was the only person that knew you well enough on how to play that practical joke on yourself while you was playing human. To snap you out of the slumber.
Yeah, ain't that son? Ain't that some shit, right? Wow.
We all in on our part. Look, all of the stuff we go through in our lifetime, we know it before we take on the life.
Right.
Before we come, but we forget.
Yeah.
Because we have to mature enough to live the life as the adult. But the youth and the childhood is the training for what you're gonna be an adult. And if you forego parts of your training, you're gonna go back over it. It's gonna come in a different form until you get the lesson. Everybody book a life like that. That's the backflip.
Right.
You ever hear somebody say, you monkey flipping? That's what they're talking about. You keep backflipping over the lesson till you get it. Right? But the gurus, the shamans, the swamis, the yogis, the hayokas, they all sit in a room and review the life in meditation until they see where they was learning the lesson and say, oh, that's the lesson. I don't want to live that one no more. So let me mark that off the book so I won't go through that no more. Then you have a test gonna come up because you wrote the test. And you the only one know you well enough to write the test to determine if you ready to live your best life. Can't nobody write your test but you. Can't nobody write your book but you. But you can let other people make you abandon your book to help them finish theirs.
Right.
That's called selling your soul.
Ooh.
You abandon your book of life to build somebody else's book of life. You're gonna have to go back and fulfill it, even if you have to reincarnate in a different life. You're gonna have to, because you made that promise to yourself. And the only promise you can't never break is the one you make to yourself, because you're gonna find a way to always make sure you deliver. The same as lying to yourself. You're gonna always know you lying when you told that lie to yourself. So we sitting in church trying to force ourselves to believe something that we don't believe. Because the preacher said it. Who the hell is he? What make what he's saying out that book more valid than what I hear in my heart? But they tell us to forego what we hear in our heart to follow what that man told us was in that book. They told me that book was the word of God and how powerful God was. I said, then you shouldn't need to open that book to prove it's the word of God.
Mm-hmm.
Soon as they open it, I take them right to the part that say that anybody that testify themselves testify a lie. Because they finna take me to the part of the book that says that this is the book of God.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to use the book of God to prove to me it's the book of God, it's not the book of God, it's a lie. Because anything that testify of itself testify of a lie. If
Damn,
you
bro.
can't show who you is in the world around you, it don't matter who you think you is on the world within. You haven't learned to express yourself yet openly. Therefore, you keep yourself in seclusion until you're ready to express yourself openly.
Mm-hmm.
That's called letting your light shine into the world. Everybody got something to offer, but the societies we live in forces us to forego what we have to offer to the world in order to accept what the world is trying to force upon us. That's the nature of the 3D, because you have to have the opposites.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have the polar opposites, the twin pillars, severity and mercy, the stressor and the buffer, in order to learn the lessons of life. And you take a roller coaster ride while you learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Rod. Does we're talking about life and what we call death. Does being cremated versus being
Yeah, that's better. That's way, way better.
okay? All right. So Rod, speaking of life and what we call death, let's talk about cremation and being buried. Does that impact where you go? If we're talking about the afterlife, we're talking about different realms. Does that impact where you go or how long it takes you to get somewhere once you leave this realm? Does it have an impact on the afterlife?
No.
So it doesn't matter. Like you would recommend is it you like
So me, I tell people like this: I don't give a damn what you do with me when I'm dead.
mm,
You can put me in a box and drop me in the dirt. You can put me on here and let the vultures eat me. Either way, I wouldn't give a damn because I ain't in there to experience it,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right? But the reason I say that is when you leave the body and you're going to get another meat suit.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It might be 5 years in the future. It might be 5,000 years in the future.
mm-hmm.
But you're going to get another meat suit if you choose to come back to Earth.
Right.
Look, while we here, we kicking and screaming. We ain't never coming back to do this shit again until the next time we come back.
Oh, he said until the next
We
time.
we when you eternal being to live 50, 60, 120 years on Earth, it's like having recess in elementary school. You can't wait for the bell to ring.
Damn.
You get to come into the and experience stuff that's not part of the spirit realm.
Yeah.
The physical world is unique in that way. And it was created for that purpose because it was another expression of higher consciousness finding ways for spirit to have something to do for eternity.
Right. Right.
We don't just want to be a beam of light forever,
Right.
just float through the infinite darkness as a beam of light and
Yeah.
never stop. No, sometimes we want to take a pit stop,
Right.
right? We might want to go to the rest stop, grab a bag of chips. But when you a beam of light flying through darkness, you can't do none of that.
Mm.
You can't complain about nothing. You got nothing to complain about. Everything is just in a state of perfection in the spirit realm. So you need something that's imperfect in order to accelerate or enhance or accentuate your experience.
Mm.
So you come into the physical world blind, deaf, and dumb
Mm-hmm.
to determine if you can awaken in the slumber to your true self. We all know we're going to wake up to our true self at some point, and most of the time in our book of life, the point we wake up is 30 minutes after we so-called die.
Mm.
Because that's when we get to go over all of the joys and the pains, because ain't no joy and pain in the spirit realm. It's all information.
It's just information.
It's information. It's just light.
But Rod, isn't that kind of robotic? You it almost, the way you describe the spirit world, it almost seems kind of robotic. Robots don't have emotions. They don't experience joy, happiness, sadness. The spirit realm almost sound robotic, Rod. Talk
Because
to me about
robots is designed off the beings in the spirit realm.
mm,
They're not
mm,
designed after humans.
mm.
They designed after the beings in the spirit realm. They data on Star Trek,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And they trying to figure out the dichotomy between Kurt and Spock.
Right. Damn.
The robot, look, artificial intelligence can only go to the fourth dimension and then it breaks down.
Mm,
That's why I would never be fearful of artificial intelligence ever becoming to a point where it can take over humanity.
that ain't
It can
happening.
never outthink the God mind.
Mm,
The God mind it's got 21 dimensional it pings, the thought
woo,
pings. It's
woo.
an encryption code. The artificial intelligence only got a 4-bit quantum encryption. The human intelligence is a 21-bit quantum encryption over 19 dimensions. So
Mm,
it can never become as wise as the gods when they come into the flesh. He will always outthink artificial intelligence.
mm,
All you got to do is cause it to jam, an information overload. If you
mm,
join from the fifth dimension, you can easily give a artificial sensory overload to somebody in the fourth dimension, because when they come into the third, they're gonna say they had a nightmare.
mm,
That's an information overload.
mm, mm,
It comes out as you see in the entropy. All of that dark evil stuff, that's entropy, right? And all of that beautiful, gorgeous stuff, that's the harmony of unison, the
mm.
oneness, right? That's efficiency, 100% pure efficiency. it's it's funny to me because everything I'm saying, everybody notice when they're not in their physical form, but in the physical form, it sounds like I'm talking crazy as hell.
Oh man, for real, for real, for real. Damn.
That's like saying if you keep training dogs, one day we're gonna wake up and they're gonna be walking us on the leash.
Mm, mm, mm. Man,
Listen,
it ain't happening.
the dog needs certain qualities that's not part of his genome
Mm-hmm.
to give him the capability to conquer the human. It's not in his genetic makeup and his genetic code. He might be able to attack one of us and eat us up, but he not finna outthink us. Especially when we know the nature of the canine. Once you know when the human know the nature of something, that thing can't conquer the human no more.
Mm,
But soon as something is mysterious in nature, it creates that cognitive dissonance, that moment of confusion, and that's when the serpents strike.
right.
But as soon as you become aware of what you're dealing with, man, that shit don't work on you no more.
Mm,
That stuff don't work on you no more. That's why I had to tell you who put the conjure in play, what the conjure did, how it worked, where it's at, who done it. Because when more of us recognize this, oh, it don't work on us no more. We woke now. You put
right.
me to sleep with a blood ritual on a constitutional mandate with one of the chief's blood, because the blood of the righteous not be spilled in blood. It don't work on me no more.
Mm,
That spell is at that point broke.
right.
Any spell that's on something only works because they don't understand what it is and the mechanics of it. Your
Mm-hmm.
spirit body will automatically protect you when you learn the nature of the spell.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm,
part of the free will universe rules. But as long as you in ignorance and you are doing nothing to change your ignorance level, then you allowed to stay in bondage until you decide to wake up.
mm-hmm.
Right? Because when you're not in the mental state to lead yourself, you need a shepherd to lead the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you got the blind leading the blind straight into a ditch.
Mm, mm. Damn, bro. This some deep stuff, man. This some
Look,
deep.
it's not deep though. It's real simple. It seems deep because it's so basic.
Mm-hmm.
It's basic understanding from the higher realms that we turn off on purpose because we don't want to offend the rest of the people who ain't woke up yet. Because we tiptoeing through grandma's house because we got the uncles and aunties in these different rooms sleep. And if we wake one of them up, they going to come out yelling, and that's going to wake the rest of them up. Now, everybody yelling at all the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to wake nobody up. So when we start to wake up, we start to isolate. We don't wake nobody up.